we actually had the Administrative Council. It was an extraordinary session, and at that point the protocol was sent to the registrars generals of the RIPO member states, and at that point they further reviewed the protocol and they further sent it to the diplomatic conference, where it was sent to the Council of Ministers, and that's where it was adopted and signed.
So now it's adopted?
Yes.
So after adoption, what next?
So after adoption, now it's the Kampala Protocol on voluntary registration of copyright and related rights. So now after that, what happens next is that we have to have it ratified. We have to have it approved. And remember, IP is territorial. Its IP is as per the laws of particular country. So each country that has signed that protocol will have to have that protocol ratified, approved by cabinet, by their cabinets. And after that, we would have to see that because those are legally binding obligations now to the member states who have signed the protocol. So at that material time, we have to see that it's ratified by cabinet, and then after we'll have our laws amended so that we can have the legal provisions incorporated into the Copyright and Neighboring Rights Act.
Very interesting. I remember when I asked Ambassador Tejera, I told him, why did you name it Kampala Protocol? Isn't that limiting this protocol just basically for Kampala? And interestingly, he answered that question beautifully. He said that the Kampala Protocol will be applicable to different countries. Exactly. So wherever they look at Kampala, they will remember Uganda. Exactly. And that was quite beautiful. Yes. Now, I want us to talk about project success. Whenever you come up with a project, like now your project for a RIPO conference was from 20th to 28th.
Yes.
Usually with assessment, we look at the assessment of a project success in the area of if you have achieved everything that you intended to achieve. Can we say that this conference met the desired requirements that you needed, or the achievements that you had targeted?
Yes, of course it met. The main aim of this conference was to have this protocol adopted and signed by the member states, to have it actually discussed by the member states, to incorporate any gaps in the protocol, so that all with the 20 member states, to see that whatever input was needed in that particular draft is incorporated. And I mean, if it came from the experts, those are the IP experts from the different member states, then it's sent to the Administrative Council, who further review and see that the provisions are all incorporated. Then it's adopted. Then I think we actually met our
project success.
Exactly. Yes. And now we have a Kampala Protocol. So it's like the ambassador said, it's because it was adopted and signed in Kampala, so it becomes the Kampala Protocol.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, all the member states are going to see that they go ahead and have the protocol ratified in their countries, and then it is actually domesticated. Then the law is incorporated in the law. But then you look and see the benefits of this protocol. You'll see that now there's a depository. You have a database where creative works are actually deposited, and we can see what that protocol is going to bring. It's actually going to bring in more creativity, more innovation, because now if people are depositing their works in that database, you'll be able to know that maybe you have some work there. I'll probably come and check and come to you and say, I want to use your works, then I'll pay you. So what happens, because the whole aim of actually creating a work is someone has to benefit. They want economic benefit. So what happens is that people will, the musicians, the artists, whoever has a creative work will be able to benefit, economic benefit. And in the long run, that also brings economic, financial benefit to GDP of the country.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, I think I think we have already achieved by actually having that protocol signed off.
Okay.
Yes.
Now my worry would be the implementation part of it, because I know there will be an area where you need to enforce some of these objectives within the intellectual property, and that is also going to be another process. But now I want us to look at the national IP policy. Yes. I don't know whether you can just brush it off or we can delve a little deeper. It is your choice. But we know that Uganda has done its best, yes, in nurturing innovation and creativity, and we know this is part of the Vision 2020, you know, and having IP for this long period of time, because I think it's since 1913, that is when it was.
I think 1912?
1912, 1913?
Yeah.
Yes, that long a period, we should be somewhere right now.
Yes.
Yes, I wouldn't say that we are late at this, but at this particular point, we should be somewhere. So let us share some of these objectives of the national IP policy.
Okay, basically what the national IP policy is, you see, it's a framework, a basis that will actually help with IP development in the country. So when you have, what the policy does, we know it was actually passed in 2019 and launched in 2020 by His Excellency, the President of Uganda. But what the policy does, it kind of like gives direction. It gives direction on short, medium and long term activities. And these activities we are looking at in relation to intellectual property. And what does it do? It will enable the IP stakeholders. At this point we have the creative arts, we have the business community. There are so many people who are stakeholders. Even we as government, we have intellectual property in our ministerial activities that we do.
The proposals that we work on.
Exactly, because IP is cross-cutting, right? So what it does, it will enable the IP stakeholders. First of all, we look at the value chain, the IP value chain. Okay. You will see that you have to first create. Without creation, you have
nothing. You have no intellectual property.
You have no intellectual property. So you have to first create. Then when you create something, you have to protect it. Okay. When you protect something, you have to commercialize it. You have to exploit it. You have to be able to see that you can gain something from it, because I mean, you've put so much money, time, effort to create something. Okay,
I think the pattern is beautiful. Create, you know, protect and then commercialize.
Then commercially exploit your work. Okay. Then after you have to enforce. Okay. Right? Okay. So what we want to see IP do, so that the policy is going to guide us, give direction, is we want to see the economy grow. We want to move away from the peasant, right, to having a prosperous country. And Uganda, you know, is rich. It's rich in the agriculture. We actually a very rich country. So the policies to guide that, and at the end of the day, we shall see economic development, and we shall grow in that regard. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So you talked about create, protect, commercialize. Now I want us, if we looked around, Uganda is beautifully made. Yes. Uganda has got creativity all over. Everywhere you look, even right from the Rolex, you find one particular Rolex seller is just adding tomatoes and onions, and then another one is becoming more creative, putting in tomatoes, green paper, and you know, spicing it up. And all this creativity, can we come to a level where every single part of creativity can be protected? Why am I asking this? In an organization like Uganda Broadcasting Corporation, I could be a person that is good at writing proposals. Yes. I come up with a beautiful proposal, the ministry approves it, and then the management approves it, and this becomes UBC's property. Exactly. Because I'm employed in UBC. Is there a time where I can benefit in the area of intellectual property, or maybe we can call it patent? Can I ever have patent rights to this specific proposal?
Now you see, it depends on how you approach it. If you're working for UBC and you've been tasked to do a particular kind of do like the proposal you're writing for the organization, remember you're doing it depending on your intellectual property policy for UBC, if you actually have one.
I'm not sure whether we have.
Or in your contract, let's say in your contract, who maintains the intellectual property? Who maintains it? It's important that if you're doing something in the course of employment and it's part of your job, whatever, description. You will definitely, UBC will actually take the intellectual property. However, you can't take away the moral rights.
Okay.
Because in as much as you've written a book or something on behalf of, you've done some research on behalf of your UBC organization, you've done that. But at the end of the day, it doesn't take away the fact that the moral rights, because those are rights that you cannot, if you've done it on behalf of the institution, let's say I write a book.
Okay.
I write a book for maybe Ursb or anything like that. But you see, if I'm writing that particular book, and even if let's say I write a book as me, as Maria, and then I want to actually, I sell off the book to maybe a publisher, whatever, something like that. But at the end of the day, it won't take away the fact that my name will still be, Maria will still be recognized. So they are the moral rights that you retain. But it also depends on the kind of agreement you have with the organization. The organization or the institution, because it depends who, are you doing it on behalf of?
Of UBC?
Of UBC. Is it very clear that if you're doing it on behalf of UBC, then the intellectual property will be for? Yeah, so it depends on the agreement.
I think usually when it comes to employment, you usually do it for motivational purposes, exactly. That I should be recognized. That in UBC we do have Patricia, she's very good at doing proposals, and maybe when I'm out of this place, if I go out there, you know, and create my own job, then basically I can utilize the skills that I've been applying in this place. Yes. Well, so I want us to talk about commercialization. I know your expertise is more in the geographical indication and trademarks. Yes, we're going to exhaust on trademarks, but I want us to talk about commercialization. You talked about that process of create and then protect and then commercialize. People do not do well in that area of commercialization. Yes. What would be the problem?
I think it's because people don't really understand intellectual property. So at times you will create something and I think you don't really take time to, because when it comes to commercialization, it's about you've created something and what next? You're not just going to shelve it on your shelf and keep it there. Because when you like come up, let's say with a product you're selling, maybe you have different products that you're selling, you'll have to go and look for a market. You also need to take the initiative to see that your product just doesn't stay on the shelf. You look for business.
Like singing in my bathroom.
Exactly. Yes. You can start, you can record an album and then go look out there and see how you can sell your music, or you can start by singing at a wedding. You can start by singing at a UBC at one of your parties, and then you see how you exploit and see, because you've created something, you've taken so much time you've invested, actually you probably put in money, because when you do you create the song, put it an album, you're going to pay someone going to
pay
do
someone the videos, the audio.
So how do you gain that money back that you've invested? So people need to just know that you need to when you create something, you need to go out there and see how you can make money out of it, because that's the sole purpose of creating. You want to make money. You're not just doing something to shelve the book, and say I want to put my book there, and say I want to see how many copies I make or sell. You go to a publisher, a publishing house, and see. Or you go to Aristoc and see, I have these books. You see what to do and see how to make money. And each one can get, I mean, for them putting it on the shelf, you see how it goes. You get your product, you've made something, you go to a supermarket and say, can I supply you? That's how you start. So it's important just not to create, but to see that you go and look out and see the economic benefit. How are you going to make money?
Not creating and shelving.
And shelving, yes.
But creating and making sure that what you've created is benefiting you in the long run. I think people shy away from that due to the fact that there's been a lot of piracy. You can have beautiful work out there, but the fact that it's on the fingertips of everyone. We do have WhatsApp, we have social media. People just get information just by snap of a finger. Information is at your fingertips. So basically, I think that has also been a challenge.
That has also been a challenge, but there at that material time, you have to see that that's why we're saying you create and you protect.
And you protect.
If you came and you protected your work and you came to Ursb and registered it, then you end up getting a certificate. Certificate will be prima facie evidence of ownership. It's like when you have a land title. How are you going to prove that you have a land title? The land
You
is
have a
yours.
land,
You
yes.
have the title. It's
Yes,
there.
yes.
So this certificate that we issue you at Ursb is your evidence. So in case someone infringes or utilizes you, what do? You come to Ursb because we have the enforcement. We have the enforcement unit. We have the enforcement police.
Okay, okay.
We have them there, and then they will help you go through the steps. We'll guide you, go through the steps, and it will either end up, if it's a criminal nature, because there are civil matters and criminal, you take it to court, and then you see that you can what? Benefit. Because I mean, if you're spending so much and you're creating, why not protect and then you can enforce? And enforcement will, that title, that certificate that we give you is what you'll use.
I think mostly the issue has been awareness. There's low awareness on IP systems. Yes, and we're glad you're coming up, you're stepping up.
And I think, okay, yes, before IP, the knowledge on IP was low, but over time, Ursb has gone ahead to sensitize. We are sensitizing the masses. We have gone to the business community. We have even sensitized the judiciary to see that they can to build respect for intellectual property in the courts of law, so that they can appreciate that.
Maria, if you did a scorecard on sensitization, if you just went with a camera on the streets and just asked anybody, do you know what IP is? Even if you remove the abbreviation and say intellectual property, do you know what that means? I'm sure they have no idea.
Yeah, but I think we've made tremendous growth and progress in that regard, because we've done a lot of, most of every year we actually carry out different sensitizations. We're doing the academia, we're doing work with Makere, we are going out there, the creative artists, the broadcasters. We've had so many workshops, and every other year, even right now, we're still planning different activities to see that we can sensitize them so that they know the benefits of intellectual property. Why intellectual property? Why should you protect your works? What is in? Because IP, like I said, is cross-cutting.
It's cross-cutting.
IP is everywhere. You look IP, even in this studio, you look and there's a lot of intellectual property here.
True.
So we have gone and taken tremendous steps to do a lot of sensitization, and it's still ongoing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now that you've said that IP is everywhere, let's talk about, let's say, cosmetics.
Yes.
Yes. Does this specific person who does cosmetics, let's say a product, or how can I call it, thank you product, yes, do they really need to first incubate their product? No. Is there a need for an incubation process before they protect, or they protect a finished product out there? I think it is an idea that we protect.
Yeah, no, you don't. You see, you can have an idea. If I have, let me say I'm writing a song, and I keep the song in my head, there's no IP.
Okay.
But until I get that song
out there,
I put it on, fix it in tangible form. I write it down, I fix it on something. It has to be fixed. If I write the lyrics on some, then I have IP. Okay. IP has to be, it cannot be an idea.
It has to be
it's
an object.
The expression of the idea that you protect. And I'll give you an example. Even like if they told you to, they tell both of us to draw a dog with a ball, right? You'll draw your dog. It's the same idea, right? The dog, the ball, the same. But you're going to draw your dog. Probably your dog will be, it will be a different breed, and mine will probably be maybe a poodle or something like that. But we'll all get IP. You see?
Okay.
So it's the expression of the idea
that you protect.
That you protect, not the idea, and it has to be in tangible form.
I'm sure people out there want to understand the geographical indications.
Yes.
Let's pinch a bit on that.
Okay, let's pinch on GIs. So geographical indications, what are these? These are signs used on products. Okay. So, but that product has to come from a particular region or locality. And that product is attributable to either the climate, the soils from that region. I'll give you an example that will help you. I'll talk about potential geographical indications in the country, because this is a new area and we're in the process of implementing the system, so that is work in progress. I'll give you an example. Is when you go to the market, you normally ask for potatoes. So you normally will ask for potatoes from Kavale. Why? There's something about those potatoes from Kavale. First of all, when you get the potatoes, they are probably good for chips. But if you want potatoes for when you're going to just cook for food, right? You probably get the ones maybe
the normal ones
from maybe Masaka. I don't know. You'll get the ordinary potatoes. what GIs do is they protect a product from a particular locality or region, and then that product, it will be, and GIs are normally communally owned, like with cooperatives and what. I'll talk about coffee. We'll talk about coffee in the Rwenzori region. There are different farmer groups and producer groups that are actually making coffee. But what happens? The coffee, there's something about that coffee. They say it has that flavor, that chocolate flavor, different flavors. And there's a reason you'll want coffee from the Rwenzori region. Because there's also coffee from the region has particular attributes, and maybe it's something to do with the soils, maybe the altitude that gives it that age. So geographical indications are the shea nut. The shea nut, yes. From northern Uganda. From northern, that is a potential. But it has to, of course, go through the steps to qualify, and that would have to look at it. It's a whole different process for geographical indications. But what will it do for our country, GIs? It will give us visibility, first of all.
Now you can identify quality, where quality is.
Exactly, and, that product has to have a certain standard. Because the farmers in that group will, for you to be able to produce and be part of that region, to produce that, let's say the coffee, it has to have there are some codes, standards that they follow, and it has to meet those requirements. So remember, so the product will have to be, whatever you're producing will be of a higher quality, you see?
And but now, where will we recognize that now this one fits the geographical indication that we need, like Kabale? I could be in Barra and I plant the Kabale Irish potatoes.
But you see, Barra and Kabale, they might be still in the same region, but I'm sure the climate and whatever varies. So even the people in Barra will have their...
So the climate is also, it also plays part.
It plays part, the soils, it depends. And it's not only even just agriculture, even non-agricultural products. Can also work.
Like which exactly?
I'll give you there are these drums, I've forgotten the area. There are some drums that, and stools from Pakwach. You see they're making those stools with skill, with that skill. So that can be a potential geographical indication. So it's not only
in the agricultural sector.
It also, you can, even the backcloth, that's potential. Because there's a way in which the backcloth is wrapped around the tree for a certain period of time. I'm sure even, is it Eshabwe? That one can be a potential geographical indication because there's a process. So depending on the region. Yes, so even if it's Mbarara and the next district, they will all have there, and you can also, it can be a geographical indication from Kabale, from Mbarara, from depending if the products qualify. But they have to go through certain, there's this process. Yes, because a lot of soil testing, there's mapping, there's defining the area, there's a lot that goes into it.
I thought that you determine that at the distribution level.
Nope.
Right from
when you're planting. So there's a way in which they grow these things, then they have to you have to know the region, the area. Because I mean, if there are crops that grow and even then probably the borderline, but they still have the same soil.
True.
You know? So there are steps, there has to be a lot of testing, a lot of mapping, a lot of mapping, a lot of, there's a lot that goes into that before you actually determine that this is a potential geographical indication.
And it's worth protecting.
It's worth protecting because it will give back to the country. And even the farmers, it will bring, in that small region, wherever it is, whether it's in a small town or whatever, it will economic development, employment, right? It puts us on the map. You'll be able to export these products.
Because you're sure of quality. Value addition.
Exactly. And then what happens for our country? We're put on the map. Then you see that exports and so it's a good thing for our communities, not just as a country, but even the communities. There will be a lot of development in the community. People will be able to go to school. People will be able to afford a decent life. Yes.
But I think also in your category, in the geographical indications, you really need to be on the ground.
Yes, of
you
course.
really need to be down there to help these farmers understand that they are to benefit from this. You also need to help these people that are dealing in arts, like the people that create the beautiful drums. Because I think also the sound really varies.
Exactly.
There are certain drums that don't sound well, and there are certain drums that sound better. So the geographical indication is quite interesting. And I think it's very broad. Yes.
And I think what we've done, because we're in the process of because now we have the act in place, the regulations, and we want to see how we develop this system and set up the system. So so far we have visited Fort Portal.
Okay.
We actually went there in May and we met at different cooperatives there, a few NGOs, civil society, trained them on the basics. And we had, I think it was interesting, then we actually went on the field visits and saw the kind of coffee, even the end product. So we've started on that, and we're going to try and see that we go to the different parts of the country. Because without, I mean, if you have a geographical indication, you have to first identify products.
True.
Be able, so we have to be able to.
Because then what will you protect?
Exactly. So we have to go sensitize. We've done Fort Portal. We're going to go the different regions, sensitization, and also even government. Because it's not just Ursb. We might be the ones who handle the law, but there are different ministries that are relevant to this.
Yes.
We have agriculture. They play an important role because they're the ones who understand this whole sector and to be able to understand the planting and all that stuff. So we have export promotion. When it comes to exports, we'll need export.
And how about in the energy sector? Mining, does that qualify?
Now mining, those are, I think those are things that are already naturally there. So mining, no. So it's mainly we have agric, we have trade, we have even we have different small farmer groups. There are different organizations. So, but even as government, we have to also bring them on board so that we move together. Yes.
But I think I want us to stay a little bit there. Farmers have had issues.
Yes.
Right now, if you tested the onion, it no longer has the previous flavor. Something has, I don't know whether something has gone wrong or something has gone right. So when we say we had the katungulu for Kamocha, okay, Kamocha, they don't farm there. Let's say Kayunga. Right now, if you test it, you won't feel the katungulu Kaganda.
Okay.
It no longer exists.
I can't tell you that I know about that katungulu that you're talking about, but all I can say, you see, over time people have, products have changed, even crops. There are these, you've heard of these chickens that they inject and grow, I don't know, like is it a bird?
In 2 weeks.
And so
it's eatable.
I think over time, and people also introducing from the Western world,
so chemicals and stuff.
Things have changed with the way our products are being looked at. So people are importing ideas. So the GMOs, you see. So
so my worry is that we could lose on the geographical indications if we are to focus on the beauty, the originality of something. We could.
I don't think so 100%, because I'm sure there are farmers who still subscribe to the olden practices. So I believe there are people who still believe and go by that and say that, you know what, when I plant like this, I don't need this, I don't even need to spray this, I don't. So I'm sure there are those who, because I mean, people try, there are people who try different things, because we have these researchers, the narrow, that are trying to see how we can improve on this and that. But I'm sure there are, I don't think you can't take that away, because even if I take our Ankole Kato and I take it, let's say, to Kenya,
it will still remain Ankole.
No, Kenya will, now you see the Ankole, you know now probably the climate in the Ankole Kato, the soils, you see? So you cannot transplant the soils or the grass that we are feeding our animals on or whatever here to, even if I took it to some other part of it won't be the same. You can't take away what we have out of nature. Yeah,
the
so
originality.
I don't think we shall lose.
We can't.
Yeah, because I mean, it's Uganda. We are richly endowed with all these, the nature,
Pearl of Africa,
the soils. Yeah, that's why we're the Pearl of Africa, right?
Okay, now let's delve into trademarks.
Yes.
Elaborate for the viewer out there who doesn't understand what trademarks are.
Okay, a trademark is a sign. It can be a sign, it can be a logo, it can be a word. That is, it can be a word and a logo. It can just be a word mark. It is something that you use. It's your identifier in the market. Okay. So it distinguishes one business enterprise from another. We'll just talk about UBC. Okay. You have your brand, UBC. Yes. So when I look at UBC, I know this is UBC. I'm not going to confuse it with NBS. Okay. Right? That is your logo. When you have mineral water, or bottled water, there's a difference between when you have your water is called Maria and your water is called earn, right?
Okay.
It's a trademark identifies you. It is your identifier in the market. It is a sign that you use as a business enterprise and gives you exclusive rights to use that logo. And no one else can use it without your permission.
Okay.
So that is basically what a trademark does.
Okay. So Ursb, what is your mandate in protection of trademarks?
So basically our mandate is that, first of all, trademark is just one of the different intellectual property rights. So we have quite a number. We have the trademarks.
So it's one of the assets of intellectual property.
So we have the patents, we have the trademarks, we have utility models, we have geographical indications, we have copyright. So those are the different IP rights.
A little about utility models before you get back into trademarks. Utility models. What do you mean? Utility like umeme, like the energy, the current?
No. So utility model is, you see, a patent is an invention, something that you create. Okay. But a utility, and normally it gives a solution to a problem, that invention. But a utility, for a patent to be registered, it has to be new. It has to be non-obvious, meaning if you're an expert in that particular field, let's say an expert in depending on whatever field you're creating, maybe aeroplanes, an expert in that field should not be obvious what you have invented. You see, you get it?
A little?
An engineer, who deals in the aeroplanes and all that. The person, you're an expert in that, in that field. So when I create something, maybe some sort of new model plane or something like that, because it can be, and a patent can be even, it might be already existing, but then you add something new to it. Right?
You mold it around and personalize it.
And give it something, an additional feature. Like say, I have a cup, and then I put the cup, you know these cups that we use for tea, and then the person who added that thing so that it doesn't burn, that outer whatever, let's say they got let's assume they got a patent, right? So no, before the person who made the cup, without that, then the person who added that, that is an additional creativity. So what a utility model, for a patent, it has to be new, it has to be non-obvious to that the person experienced in that field, and it has to be industrially applicable, to be able to be used in an industry. Like
these cups that change color during ceremonies?
Something like that. That is some sort of...
So no one can come and say, this is my creativity.
It depends. Now, if you're the one who has created that and it qualifies, it has to meet those steps of patentability. It has to be new, non-obvious to the expert in that field, and it has to be industrial.
Non-obvious, that means it shouldn't be something that this person already knows about.
The expert.
Yes.
And he sees it there. As soon as he sees what it should be, it shouldn't be obvious as to what lesser patent. So if you fail to meet that, the invention, when you see you've created something and you fail to, let's say you apply for a patent and it doesn't actually qualify, you can have a lesser patent, that utility model. So there's that option. But the other one has to meet the criteria, the 3 steps. Yes.
Now back to trademarks. Yes. So where we ended.
So basically that's what a trademark is. But you see, to protect a trademark, it can be a logo, like I said, or a word mark.
Like this beautiful Ursb logo.
Exactly, that one. So to have that, when you create something, you want to protect it.
So is this one protected?
Yes, it is. How can we not protect our own? So what you do, you have to protect it. So you'll come to Ursb and say, you know what, I have this logo, and you can come and we can actually give you advice on it. So you have to, but now with COVID, most of our processes are online, right?
Yes, virtual.
So they're online, so you have to make the application online. But of course, clients still can come in if they need some advice. They come in as long as they are within the SOPs. Why not? We'll give them the advice. So you will apply for your trademark, fill in the form, you attach your logo. After attaching the logo, you will pay the necessary fee. And for an application for trademark, the local application, you have to pay a search fee, which is 25,000 Uganda shillings, and 50,000 for the application. then you submit it, but you submit it online.
Okay.
That is ip@ursb.go.ug. Then for us, we shall go ahead and process. After processing, of course, we will look at it, process, and issue you with a gazette notice.
Okay, that is via email.
Exactly.
Or WhatsApp?
No, email. It has to be via email.
Okay.
Then when we issue with that gazette notice, you will actually, we'll send it to you via email, then you will have it advertised. That is mandatory, the advert. And we have the Uganda Gazette. You have options. You can take it to the Uganda Gazette, which charges you about 300,000, or
just for the placement.
For placement, yeah, advertising, or you bring it to. We have a journal, a URSB journal, and you have it advertised there. You
How
choose.
often do you release the journal?
Ours is every Friday.
Every Friday.
Every Friday.
You release a journal.
Yes. So
and how much will it be with you?
It's Uganda shillings, 100,000.
100. That's cheaper.
Yes.
That's cheaper than
So
300.
it was just an alternative because it was an alternative publication, because the law allows us to have any other media. So we decided to
include
have that, because we had to amend the regulations to provide for all these things, because as yours we want to see how we make business easy. Make it easier for our clients to be able to your application has been advertised for 60 days, then you come, you fill in TM9, the form, and after that you have it, you pay 100,000 for a local application, and then we will give you a certificate of registration.
So now there's the 100,000 for advertising, and then 100,000 for?
We have the 100,000 for advertising, then we have the other 100,000 for the certificate of registration.
For the certificate of registration.
Yes.
That is if you qualify.
Yes, of course, if you qualify. But you see, after you have it published, we give it 60 days.
60, that
60
is 3
days.
months roughly.
I think those are 2 months.
2 months. Yes,
60,
yes, 2
60
months.
days. So we give you those 60 days to actually go and, for the public, anyone who has any issue with that.
About this trademark.
About your trademark. Because, I mean, who knows, you might be trying to, then they can put in an opposition. Then we can handle that opposition internally.
Has it ever happened that someone
yes.
pops up and says, no, but this is my work?
It happens a lot.
And do they have it protected already? Those that are arguing?
Some, yes, do. Might have something similar, but then that's when we go through the process of opposition to see whether there's similarity. We at the registrar's URSB, we actually handle that matter internally. And see that we make a decision on that. It goes through the steps, the notice of opposition, the other party files a counter statement, we serve parties, then the statutory declarations, then a hearing is had. Both
what
parties.
if the complainant, yes, did the creativity, and this person probably landed on this creativity on internet, and they're now more sharp to go and register? How can we prove that this person is the owner of this property?
No, that is, it's all complex, depending. If someone has, you see, IP is, intellectual property is first come, first serve.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And intellectual property is according to the Uganda IP. We look at our laws. So that's why we're encouraging people to protect their works, because if we have, you copy let's say I have this, then I put it out in the market, then you look at it and then you go and come and register. It is so hard to prove that it's not even yours.
Yes.
So that's why we are trying to go out there to sensitize the people that if you create something, if you have a product, whatever you have, before you actually you'd be sharper to first come and protect. And you see the process, as long as you protect, the process might take a while before you complete, but at least you have the filing date. You're there before, because let me tell you, if we have the same product we are going to protect, let's say the same logo, and you come in, I come in at 4.
At 4.
Then you come in at 4:01. I'm better than you, right?
True.
Even if it's just 1 minute later. So it's important, because IP is, first
come, first
the filing date is critical.
It's very critical.
Yes.
Even if you have not yet gotten the certificate, but there's the filing date, and then someone
because
comes
even
and
as
deposes.
we receive that application, we receive it and put time. And when we put time, that time even shows the seconds.
Okay. That's
shows
critical.
you. Exactly.
Okay, if we've gone that far, then we are good to go. Yes, with intellectual property. Now we want to understand. People come up with all sorts of creativity. I can say Patricia Counseling Services, and I want to register that. I draw a beautiful logo, probably of a face of someone, and most of these trademarks, they're not from far. They're from within. You just get one piece, a hand, and then connect it with something else, probably a circle, and then I come up with a trademark, and I put my motto, you know, counseling for better living.
Yes,
I bring it. So when I approach the desk, are there any other criteria that you would basically look at? Because I'm thinking that not everything is protected.
That's true. But now it depends. You see, intellectual property, when it comes to trademarks, a mark, we encourage that these marks are distinct.
Okay.
You're safer coming creating something that is unique than trying to copy from your neighbor, because you see your neighbor is successful in their business, then you want to just tweak it a bit. It won't work, because we have a register and we're looking at that register. It has different classes. We are single class system. So if you want to protect Patricia Counseling Services, you protect it in that class, but you also want to use it in another class, you'll have to pay for another application. Exactly. So
Patricia Counseling Services should be independent. If I come up with, how about when does the memorandum of association help me in that area?
Now that is relation to business.
To business registration.
This is just now your brand.
Okay, okay.
So what we look at when it comes to trademarks, we're looking at distinctiveness, uniqueness. We don't want marks that are misleading, descriptive. We don't want marks that are confusingly similar. Obscene, yes. Scandalous. So those are things, but those are part of the law. We don't want marks that talk about, you see, if you're making tea, you're packaging tea and you're selling tea, we don't want your mark to be called tea. There's no creativity there.
It's very obvious.
The tea. So call it something fancy that will give it, and we encourage people to think. It's good for you to think. I would rather, you know, people come and say, but it's different because maybe the V is down and this one is like facing this side. But it's the same thing. It's tea. There's nothing different. So we want people to actually, normally I advise clients that, you know what, you go and think. Advise, we even tell the lawyers, please go and advise your clients to think. Because someone will say that because it's tea and then the other one has done tea, maybe the tea is something
it's
just
upside down. You do have a software that actually qualifies you.
Exactly, we have a system.
You put it and then it, yes.
We have a system.
Okay, okay.
We
so
have a system.
You fill in your name or you fill in your trademark.
We fill in the trademark, and even because normally we scan them with the logos, you can even at least, even if you can just show the logos to just see if anything similar comes up. So we have a system that we input and be able to see that there's nothing similar. And we do it per class. And there are classes that are also related. They're related classes. Just because if they're related, then there might be some sort of confusion. So we apply the law at that point and look at the system as well.
Okay.
Yes.
And then after that, that is when I go into the 60 days of advertising.
Exactly. Now when you go into the 60 days, now we're waiting for anyone to come up if they think that their brand or their logo is similar and this person is trying to copy. At that point, if there's someone who comes up, we start the process of opposition. If there's no one who comes up with that, then
now while I'm going through this long process, because for me it looks like it's long process. It is 60 days and then it is long.
Okay, let me tell you why it's not long. First of all, when you come with your logo, by the time you get that gazette notice, I'll give it to you just 5 days.
In 5 days. Because
we have the processing now with COVID, and then we have to do the things online. So it takes now on the 5th day you'll pick your notice.
So I'm assuming that this person is a business starter and he's ready with his product, but then he wants to do things the right way. So if he comes in and you tell him you wait 60 days and then 2 weeks, don't you think we need to lessen the procedures, the paperwork?
The challenge with the 60 days, that one is mandatory. It's in the law.
So can I have the advert go on 60 days while I operate my business?
Yeah, of course, people actually still go ahead to operate, though we would encourage people to, I mean, when you think of an idea, and you've done the logos and the designs and gone, you can, of course, people still proceed to. The
challenge is proceeding, and then you have your customers out there, consumers already identifying you as particular, you know, and then after 60 days, you're no longer utilizing the trademark. That will affect
by the time we give you that gazette notice comes up to oppose. That's where the challenge would be. Of course, it would be more systematic to first go through do the trademark process, and normally they manage to get their applications through. I mean, if someone has taken time to create something to make it unique, I don't see why they should worry. See, and would normally guide them. And there are people who come in before and tell us, what do you think about this trademark? And we advise. Do you think it will pass? And you can even ask for an opinion, but you have to pay for it.
Who?
You can ask for an opinion as to the distinctiveness of your mark, whether it will actually pass.
Distinctiveness of my mark.
Whether it's
and
unique.
How much would I pay for that?
I think you pay 25,000.
25,000.
Yes.
So does it occur that some people come with a unique and different trademark, but then the slogan could look like inspiring Uganda?
Now you see the slogan, the slogan could be similar to something else, but at that point, you know, there are certain words that you can actually use in certain words that you can use for a particular, like maybe for like the slogan you're saying, inspiring Uganda, and they are commonly used words.
Okay.
Right? But as long as they don't reflect, they don't look like someone else's slogan. Because I mean, if you use inspiring can be used in different ways. So you put it there with a disclaimer, because someone can't own the word inspiring. Someone can't own the word tea. So there are certain words that are commonly used, right? So
okay,
it depends on the examination, really.
All right. So do you have any nudging and biting issue that you'd want to speak to the audience before we sign out?
Okay, basically what I want to tell the audience is intellectual property is cross-cutting, it's important, it is, I don't even know what to tell the audience, because IP is everywhere, and what I would want the audience to know is that you need to protect, you need to come to Ursb and protect your creativity, your work, and remember that we of course we are here at Georgian House and on George Street, but we also have regional branches. We brought taken the service decentralized, so that people can access it in the regions. We have Arua, our office in Arua, we have Mbale, we have Gulu, we have Masaka, we have Mbarara. We also have downtown, Nachivubo, and we also have UIA, and we have the post office. So we've taken it out there so that people can access our services. And it's important for you to create, protect, commercialize, and enforce.
And enforce.
Exactly.
But now the enforcement will not be done by me as an individual or
your brand and to us. When you put in that letter and say, this person is copying me, my trademark, and you even can buy samples of that person's product and bring them in, then for us we shall proceed from there. Because these are, and as much as government helps with the enforcement, you have to remember that you need to police your right. You need to watch over it, but we are there to do the enforcement. Yes.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you very much, Maria NyaNgoma, for coming in and you know, having this dialogue with us. Well, I think we've picked one or two, and I hope, I pray, like I spoke to Chairman and also Manager Kalibala, I told them you need to establish an independent program on Ursb, so that you people, you don't get off the mark. You're always in people's ears. The audience need to hear this more. They need to learn this. It needs to come to their fingertips so that it sinks in. Yes, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you too. Thank you
yes, as we all know, Uganda is endowed with nature, And nurturing innovation and creativity has been key. If we've heard His Excellency President Yoweri Museveni, he's very passionate when it comes to innovation. Now, intellectual property rights is not my right, it's your right, it's everybody else's right. If you protect your property, then you're geared to benefit from this specific property. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. My name is Patricia Mpango. Thank you so much. For now, we'll still keep and maintain a good afternoon with you. Bye-bye.